Bugungi darsimizda siz bilan Cambridge 9 kitobimizning test 2 passage 2 analizini ko'rib chiqamiz va birinchi navbatda bu qism nima haqidaligini tushunib olish maqsadida titlni ko'rib chiqamiz va Venus in transit demak o'zimda Veneraning tranzit qismidagi holati bu astronomiyaga doir tekstni o'rganib chiqarganmiz. Bu qismda o'z ko'rganingizdek which paragraph contains following information demak quyidagi ma'lumotlarni qaysi paragraflarda ekanligini topish kerak. Undan keyin esa list of people, matching people, undan keyin rivojlanadigan savollar bo'lar ekan. Va bu savol turlari tartibda kelmasligi sababli, hech qaysi ham tartibda kelmasligi sababli tekstni 2 ga bo'lib olamiz yoki 3 ga bo'lib olamiz. Undan keyin o'sha 3 ga bo'lingan holatda javoblarni topishga harakat qilamiz. ABC ni o'qib olaman, javoblarni qidiraman, ATF ni o'qib olaman, keyin javoblarni qidiraman. Xo'p, menimcha bu qism bizga muhim emas. Adjustment for more than half the population of the world were treated to a rare astronomical event for over 6 hours. The planet Venus steadily inched its way over the surface of the Sun. This transit was the first since 1882. Like on that occasion, American astronomers led the party of South Africa to observe the event. They were based at the Ielts school where it's alleged the combined force of 3 school mistresses outperformed the professionals with the accuracy of their observations. Seriously? Wow! For centuries, transit winds have drawn explorers and astronomers alike to the far corners of the globe, and you can put all down to the extraordinary polymath Edmund Halley. Edmund Halley observed the transit of the innermost planet, Mercury, from the desolated island of this. He realized that from the different latitudes, the passage of the planet across the disk would appear to differ. By timing the transfer from 2 widely separated locations, teams of astronomers could calculate the parallax angle, the apparent difference in position of an astronomical body due to a difference in the observer's position. Calculating this angle would allow astronomers to measure what was then the ultimate goal, the distance of the Earth from the Sun. The distance is known as astronomical unit, or AU. Halley was aware that AU was one of the most fundamental of all astronomical measurements. Johannes Kepler in the 17th century had shown that the distance of the planets from the Sun governed their orbital speed, which were still easily measurable, but no one had found a way to calculate accurate distances of the planets from the Earth. The goal was to measure the AU, then knowing the orbital speeds of all the planets around the Sun, the scale of the solar system would fall into place. However, Halley realized Mercury was so far away that its parallax angle would be very difficult to determine. As Venus was closer to Earth, its parallax angle would be larger. Hartley worked out that by using Venus it would be possible to measure the Sun's distance to part in 500. But there was a problem. Transit Venus, unlike other Mercury, are rare, occurring in pairs roughly 8 years apart every 100 or so years. Now, nevertheless, he accurately predicted that Venus would cross the face of Sun both this year and this year, so that he didn't survive this year either. Bechora, all hot. Yeah. Poor guy. Hop, demek bu qismda ABC ni o'qidik. Hop, demek examples of different ways in which parallax principle have been applied. Demek parallax principle'ni turli xil vaziyatlarda, turli xil shakllarda apply qilinganligini hozircha ko'rmadik. Keyin ko'rib olishimiz mumkin, hozircha yo'q. A description of an event which prevented the transit observation haqida ma'lumot yo'q. Transit observation prevent qilgan ma'lumot yo'q. A statement about potential future discoveries leading on from an observation bu haqida ma'lumot yo'q. Description of physical states connected with Venus which early astronomical instruments failed to overcome. What? Birortasi yo'qmi? Tushunmadim. Nima bo'ldi? D, E, F, G. Wow. It would be shocking if it happens. He calculated the distance of the Sun from Earth based on observations of Venus with a fair degree of accuracy. Haqida ma'lumot yo'q. Wow, he understood the distance of the Sun from the Earth could be worked out by comparing observations of a transit. Demek Kepler qilgan shu bu ishni. Halley qilgan. Holden has shown the distance easily measurable, but no one had found a calculated way to do this. Halley understood. Edmund Halley understood. Demek eyni olarkanmiz bu qismda. Oh, come on. Keyingi qismga o'tamiz. He realized that the time taken by a planet to go around the Sun depends on its distance from the Sun. Hop, who? shown that the distance from planets governs their orbital speeds. Here, Kepler bo'ladi bu menimcha javob. Kepler, Johannes Kepler. Kepler telescope almost hit the Venus transit but was unable to make any calculations. Demak, qismda 2 kishi qoldi. Shu ikkitasini javobini topish kerak. So'raga javob. Halley observed one transit of Venus. Demak, Halley o'lib ketgan, ko'ra olmasdan ikkalasini ham. Demak, bu false bo'ladi. Pechora. Yaxshi odam edi. Lekin o'lib ketdi. Hope I'm sorry for this, guys. I'm sorry. It's like more comfortable for me. Gentle haqida o'qimadik. Demak, D, E, F, G ni o'qiymiz, keyin javoblarni topamiz. Inspired by Halley's suggestion of a way to pin down the scale of the solar system, teams of British astronomers set out on expedition to places diverse Indiana and Siberia. But things weren't helped by Britain at war. The person who deserves most sympathy is the French astronomer Legentil. He was thwarted by the fact that the British were besieging his observation site at Pondicherry in India, fleeing on a French warship crossing the Legentil saw a wonderful transit, but the ship's pitching and rolling ruled out any attempt at making accurate observations. He witnessed the Venus transit, but I wasn't able to make any calculations. Demak, mana bu bechora bo'lar ekan. C bo'lar ekan. Demak, avtomatik mana bu A bo'lardi. D bo'ladi. Avtomatik mana bu D bo'ladi. Uni ko'ramiz. Men sizlarga ko'rsataman nimaga D bo'lishini. Mana bu o'sha ship's pitching, rolled out of any attempt, rolling and ruled out any attempt to making accurate observations bo'ldi. Shu bilan bu qism tugadi, o'z nihoyasiga ketdi. Managed to observe a second Venus transit. Secondni hali bilmayman lekin. Second bo'ldimi yo'qmi? And daunted, he remained south of the equator, keeping himself busy by studying the island's Mauritius and before setting off to observe the next transit in the Philippines. Ironically, after traveling nearly 1,000 kilometers, his view was clouded by the last moment where this parroting experience. His view was clouded at the last moment. Demak, shunda managed to observe bo'lmaydi, chunki observe qilolmagan. Viewni cloud qilib yuborishgan ekan. Bechora. Ko'ramabdi. Alam qilsin. Xo'p, davom etamiz. The shape of Venus appears distorted when it starts to pass in front of sun. Haqida ma'lumotni hali o'qimadik. 24-26 qolgan qismda bu qism tugadi. Of description. Description of an event which prevented transit observation. Bu qismda ikkita event berilgan, clouding out bo'lib qolgan mana bu qismda fleeing on a French bo'lgan. O'sha uchun ham D bo'ladi bu qism. Well, while the early transit timing were as precise as instruments would allow, the measurements were dogged by the black drop effect. When Venus begins to cross the sun disk, it looks mirror, not circular, which makes it difficult to establish timing. This is due to diffraction of light. The second problem is that Venus exhibits a halo light when it sees just outside the solar disk, while this showed astronomers that Venus was surrounded by a thick layer of gases refracting sunlight around it, but effects made it impossible to obtain accurate timing. Physical states, connection with earlier astronomical instruments failed to overcome. E bo'lar ekan. Mana qoldi, 16 qoldi, 14 qoldi. E mana qismda javob bor. The shape of Venus appears distorted when it starts to pass. To'g'ri, smeared bo'lar ekan. Mana qismda yozilgan smeared, not circular bo'lar ekan. Agar o'shanaqa sunning oldidan o'tayotganda to'g'ri bo'ladi bu. True qolamiz. Keyingi o'tamiz. Early astronomers suspected that the atmosphere of Venus was toxic. Bu haqida ma'lumotni o'qimadik. O'qiymiz. But astronomers labored hard to analyze the result of these expeditions to observe Venus transit. Okay. Finally, determined the value of the AU based on these parallax measurements. Accurate for the time is quite close to today's value of this, determined by radar, which has now superseded these transits and all other methods in accuracy. Cosmic measuring rod, the basics of how we scale the universe today. The parallax principle can be extended to measure the distance to stars. If you look at stars in January when Earth is at one point in its orbit, will seem to be in different position from where it appears in 6 months later. Knowing the width of Earth's orbit, the parallax shift lets astronomers calculate the distance. No information. Demak, toxic haqida, Venus haqida o'zi ma'lumot tugadi, Venus haqida gapirish to'xtadi. Not given bo'ladi. Parallax principle allows astronomers to work out how far away distant stars are from Earth. Bu true bo'ladi, chunki hozir o'qidik. Hozirgina o'qidik, qilishi mumkin. Orbitasini qaraydi, rangni o'zgartirib oladi. Ko'rsam qanaqa, qayerdan olganimni javobini. Mana bu qismda bor. Shift left astronomer calculate the distance 6 months later. Measure the distance between stars. Demak, mana bu javob sifatida true bo'ladi. Bu not given false bo'ldi. Endi bu javobni topish kerak. Statement about potential discoveries. Mana bu potential discovery F bo'ladi. Xo'p, example of different ways in which parallax principle has been applied. Was more sort of spectacle than a scientific improvement event. Research trends have paved the way for what might prove one of the world's biggest cosmos, detecting IRS planets orbiting other stars. Now it's tough. Potential future discoveries leading box on the potential future board. Different ways has been applied. Examples of different ways in which parallax principle has been applied. Parallax principle, different ways has been applied. Bu menimcha. Maybe man buni potential future discovery G qilamiz, chunki Earth balo degan, man buni F qilamiz menimcha. Bilmadim. Balki shunaqa qilarmiz, balki shunaqa qilmasmiz. Chunki examples of different ways in which parallax principle has been applied, mana principle apply qilinadi, topiladi. Bu F'da. Man bu potential future discovery, man bu planets orbiting other stars bo'lishi mumkin. Boshqa qismda lekin ko'rmadim, chunki man bu parallax principle umuman hali boshlanmaganda bu qismda. Shu bilan bugungi darsimiz o'z oxiriga yetadi. Hammaga tushunarli bo'ldi degan umiddaman. O'zlaringiz ko'rganingizdek, men bu ABCni bekorga o'qidim. Deyarli ma'lumotlar ABni hech bo'lmasa bekorga o'qidim ikkalasini. Deyarli ma'lumot topa olmadim hech qaysiga. Shu bilan bugungi dars o'z oxiriga yetadi. Kommentariyada savolingiz bo'lsa qoldiringlar mumkin. Sizlarni keyingi darslarda ko'rishguncha xayr.